Okay, this is Board of Health meeting Thursday, April 4th, 2024, 6 p.m. in the land use room. Present at the meeting is Sue Braska.
Tom Hibbert.
Richard Stefanowicz, Fire Department.
Carrie Putnam. Mackenzie, we got to get together on this.
I know.
Okay, so public comment, there isn't anything because Chief is going to talk about something else. The minutes, I had sent you the minutes from March.
In February.
The February 15th minutes, our special meeting, and then the last meeting, which was March 7th.
Yep.
Are there any corrections or anything to be added or?
No.
No, thanks.
No, okay, someone want to make a motion to accept both of those minutes?
I will make a motion to accept the minutes from March and February.
So
And I'll
March 7th. Okay, March 7th and February 15th. All in favor?
Aye.
Mackenzie King, yes.
Carrie Putnam, yes.
Okay. You made the motion, Mackenzie? The
Yes.
first motion, okay.
Are you in favor, Sue?
And Sue Braska in favor. Okay, so we're all in favor. Nursing report, what are we? No, Tricia?
No, she couldn't make it tonight, but since the chief's here, if we want to skip ahead and do the resident letter first.
All right, why don't we do that?
So I emailed you guys the a letter I got from a resident. I don't know if you all had a chance to read it, but
Yes.
basically over on George Loomis, she's concerned with smoke from neighbors having backyard small cooking fires and things like that. Which
is this one of those
Fire pits.
One of those pits with the stone around it and everything?
Well,
sit around or?
why don't we get through the email and I'll explain what I know so far,
Okay,
and what we've done so far.
okay,
But to answer that question directly, I don't know.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead.
So do you want me to just read the email? That might be the best way to do it.
Go ahead, it's
All
short.
right. I'm ready to tell you that I have worked with the police and fire department with little to no help. It seems I am the bad guy and at fault when I report neighbors having a nice little fire at night. I know very well that wood smoke is toxic. I can no longer enjoy my porch and can no longer open windows on a beautiful summer night. These people burn continuously all late spring and early summer. With the big taxes we pay every year, I believe it is time that the Board of Health to require burning permits for people who choose to fire pit. On the back of the permit should be rules for burning cleanly and preventing nuisance smoke. Fines should be in place for repeat offenders. We live in a very tight neighborhood. I have 2 pits very close behind me, one on either side and across the street. Please address this very unhealthy problem. Thank you. Linda Hadley, 16 George Loomis Road, Southwick, MA.
Okay, so
my immediate reaction was, that's burning is usually more of a fire department issue. It's already regulated by the fire department or state law. And a lot of times, and I've had similar experiences in Westfield, and if residents don't call when they think it's a problem, the fire department will never know about it. And so it can be, people don't like to call, but if you have a problem with it, I think you have to make the call so the fire department can check it out when it's happening. So I reached out to the chief, and I guess I'll let you take it from here.
Sure. So there's 2 things here. So I wear 2 hats. I'm also the fire warden. And the fire warden has jurisdiction over the wildland fires that happen and also the burn permits that are issued on behalf of the Department of Environmental Protection for open burning. And open burning occurs between January 15th and May 1st by permit only. And then there's agricultural burning, which is also by a permit, but that can be done year round. Neither of these apply in this particular case because it's not an open burning violation. They are allowed to have a fire pit for cooking and for heat. They're allowed to do that at any time of the year that they want to do that. And if there is a nuisance created by that fire and there's a call on it, we'll investigate. And if we deem it to be a nuisance, we can ask the person, the property owner with the fire, to extinguish the fire. And it's usually done on a one-on-one basis. In this particular case, I've had conversations with Ms. Hadley before. I've had two, and I'm sure there were others prior to me being the chief. And I advised both times that when this is going on, you need to call the fire department so that we can investigate. Because I can't just go and knock on someone's door the next day and say, hey, there was a complaint, you can't burn anymore. That's not fair to them. So when we did check this out the first time, when I went and surveyed the neighborhood, there was only a complaint from her lodged against the neighbor up on Fenton Drive, which is above her property. It's about 35 feet from where her front lawn is to the backyard of the other house where the burning's occurring. So you already have a significant elevation difference, which means that in order for that smoke to really dip down at night, you'd have to have an inversion, which usually typically doesn't happen late at night around here. In the morning hours it happens. That's why burning is permitted typically once the sun's up and there's convection and everything's going up. So there may very well be a legitimate concern on her behalf, but we haven't been notified by it. We went all the way back to 2017 in records, and we haven't had one call to this location for investigation for anything. We've had two at 3 George Loomis that were investigated, and those fires were extinguished. But I don't know that this person's concerned about what happened at 3 George Loomis because that's quite a ways away from where her home is. So I just wanted to kind of get you up to speed where we are. I don't know if you had a chance to reach out to the chief of police and ask them if they responded, but we didn't have anything in documentation. If she were to call while there was an active burn and we found that there truly was a nuisance, we'd make a full report of it. We'd advise the homeowner of the burning regulations and that, it's creating a nuisance for somebody.
So when you went out there, they weren't burning?
Well, I went out in the morning because that's when she called me. I wanted to kind of get a lay of the land.
Okay.
And I said, if I see anything, but they have the 3 Fenton, it's in their backyard. And as best I could tell, they have a seating area. I couldn't tell what they had for a fireplace type of thing. And sometimes you can look at Google Earth and figure out what people have in their backyards. I couldn't do that on this particular piece of property. So I really don't know if they're burning big fires or small fires, or if it is just a small campfire. I think if it was a bigger fire, we'd have other neighbors calling and saying, hey, there's a big fire in the backyard, because we get those all the time. So again, I understand her concern about a health issue, but I just wanted to kind of take the opportunity to explain where I come from as, the code enforcement end of this and what we can do and what we can't do, okay? If it's open burning season and it's a violation of open burning, we can suspend or revoke the permit and extinguish the fire, but that's it. This is happening at night and again for cooking and for warmth. So we kind of have our hands tied when it comes to where the rules begin and end on this one.
So you said, oh, go ahead, Terry.
So are there any limits to the size of the cooking fire or the warmth fire?
They're very generic rules. The ones we apply is that the fire pit is typically no bigger than 3 feet in diameter. There has to be a 25-foot perimeter around it, and that's a radius, so that there's no exposures. It can't have a tree canopy above it, so it has to have open air. But those are pretty much the only ones that we have available to us at any given time. And even then, those are hard to enforce because there's all kinds of different fire pits that people build and install. And we're not professionals on these. We don't know which one works and which one doesn't. And a lot of them are homemade, and that's it. I've conferred with DEP on this before, and even with the DCR, which is the Department of Recreation and Conservation, who controls a lot of the wildland things. And, the adage is that it's their God-given right to do this, and people are going to do it. It's the same with burn permits. We extend a privilege to people when our job in the fire service is fire prevention, and we're saying, here's a permit to go against everything we say is you're not supposed to do. Go ahead and have a fire. You don't understand anything about it, but go ahead. And we've had occasions where these fires have left the container or left the actual burn pile and extended to outdoor furniture and fences, and in fact, their neighbors' sheds and things like that. So we try to control what we can control. In this case here, it's good common sense that it's not a big fire. And if it was and someone complained, then we would obviously enforce a regulation against open burning that time of, if it's because certainly at nighttime, it's out of the open hour privileges at 4 p.m. it ends. So,
Okay, but a cooking and a warm fire is year round.
yeah,
Okay. So what do you suggest she do when there is a fire call?
and she's been advised that when there's an active fire that's concerning to her and there's a smoke nuisance, to call us and we'll investigate.
But not call 911,
No,
call.
she can call 911.
She can.
Yeah, we want people calling 911. We don't want them calling the fire station. Because
Okay,
if there's no one there to answer the phone because the crews are on a call, it goes unanswered. It will roll over to dispatch, so they might as well just call 911 at the same time. We have this happen an awful lot where people, they don't want to bother us, so they think they'll just call the business line. It's one of the same. You're talking to the fire department either way. And we go no matter what and investigate. We investigate every concern and every complaint we get.
so if she calls concerned about this outdoor fire and she calls 911, the fire truck shows up too? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, we have a duty to act. So we don't know how big the fire is, and people could say, oh, I think there's a fire, or, if it came in even as a complaint of a cooking fire, we're still going out with the engine because we don't know what we're getting ourselves into. We want to be prepared. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess,
Yeah, I mean, I think based on all that, it's something that's already regulated. I really don't think it would make sense for, as was requested, for the Board of Health to pass an additional regulation. And I've never heard of another health department with a Board of Health burning regulation in the state. So even if it was something that we wanted to entertain, it would be a huge undertaking, because we would probably be the first. A lot of other regulations we can just, piggyback off of something another town has already written and been reviewed. But in this case, I don't think it makes sense to try to regulate something that's already regulated. So
and it's fire department.
right. And I'll reach back out to Miss Hadley and advise her to, even if it makes you feel like the bad guy or whatever, if the burning is happening and she considers it to be a problem, then she would have to call at that time, and that's the only way anything would get rectified. But
and the permit really doesn't solve anything, because you're still saying they can burn. So if you give them a permit and they're burning, we're going to fine them because we give them a permit to say it's okay to burn. And how's that person supposed to control the smoke? It's beyond their control. So that's why we go, and if we deem it to be a nuisance and there's cloud, smoke cover, or it is, for some reason going down the hill, we'll tell them they have to put the fire out. They can burn again tomorrow night and start all over again, but for the here and now, we have a complaint.
It's just that one property that she mentioned that's burning.
When I spoke to her on the phone, it was she identified it as the property directly behind her. And I could tell that they have an outside, she did mention an outside seating area, and there was that I could see from the road. And I'm not allowed to go on someone's property and knock on the door because, somebody said they're bothering them. The police can do it, I can't. So I would feel very uncomfortable, going up there and even saying, hey, your neighbor complained. So I tried to do it as covertly as possible. Again, there was nothing glaring at that time.
But if she calls in with an actual complaint that the fire is doing what it's doing, could you go to that yard at that point?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. But that changes everything. When we have a call or concern or complaint, then we can. Yeah. Okay. And we do it all the time. We go to multiple illegal burns, all burn season and even after burn season. And sometimes we're in the woods and sometimes we're in someone's backyard. And we take them very seriously, and we take the residents' concerns very seriously. But we have to do it when it's actively burning.
Mackenzie, do you have any questions?
No, I do not. I'm concerned. No, I just think I think it's irrational, and I apologize for wasting the chief's time. She's not concerned with a fire. She's concerned that a fire makes smoke, I think, is the underlying concern. And there's no way that you can inhale smoke without it being toxic, regardless of any permit or any rule. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. I mean, she's thinking it's a health issue too, because
Mhm.
she's breathing it in and she can't open her windows because the smoke is in her house. But you had said very unlikely that it,
Very unlikely. I mean, you could probably smell the smoke, but is there actually smoke particulate and visible smoke coming down and wafting down? Could it happen? Yes. Is it rare? Yes. But most of the times at night, the smoke is up and out, you know? It's just a natural, you know, hot and cool. When it's cooler at night, it just moves right up. So that's typically what we find.
Well, I wonder,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just going to tell Tom, I wonder if it's kind of stepping out of our realm if we suggest air purifiers in her house. I mean you know, you really can't. I mean, if she has a fireplace, she's going to breathe. If she has an inside fireplace, she's going to have some escape stuff as well. You know, I could see our role being more if this was widespread and we're teaching people how to avoid the harms of smoke, but we're not going to put out the fires. That's you know, our Cro-Magnon ancestors made fires by
God-given right to have a fire.
yeah.
Is there currently a bylaw or an ordinance for outside boilers in Southwick?
This,
I know some communities have them, and we talked briefly about it.
Yeah,
Because that's, you know, there have been some regulations passed, and the community I worked in previously had one of those, and it basically dictated what the design of that wood burner needed to be,
so we
but it didn't put any restrictions on it.
went years ago when they first started getting popular, wrote all these regulations and then the state came out with some.
yeah, I think we
And-
might just go by the
And the state,
DEP.
and the state
Yeah.
superseded, so.
Okay.
Goes by that.
So if anything, I mean, there might be something in the language of that might be applicable here to just be able to say to the homeowner that's having a fire, hey, you know, there is an existing ordinance. It's for open, you know, for boilers, but it still addresses the smoke concern. Because with the you know, the boilers, the outdoor boilers, that's what it was a smoke concern.
Mhm.
But those were, people were burning whatever and they could, and they were 24/7. So you had them when the sun was coming up in early morning hours and the smoke would be down. It didn't have a chance to liberate. So
Mhm.
that might be something that could be looked at.
Maybe
in
Tom,
just
you
maybe.
can
Yeah, I'll check
look
that
it up
out.
and see if it says anything that might pertain to this.
All right.
Okay, any more questions or any questions you need to ask
No,
us?
I'm all set.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the time. I just
No,
wanted to
thank
kind
you
of get
for
it out
calling
there and, again, we try to work with all the residents to make them happy. And this is a tough one because we've had this before and people try to make some adjustments and, you know, they know if it's really smoking, it is coming down, they won't have a fire that night or something like that, but if they're planning a cookout and they're having friends and family over.
Were you in the department when there was a concern? Someone was burning inside and the smoke, however, would come down and it was the same neighbor that got affected every single time and they, I don't know how many times they contacted the board and
Mhm.
you'd go and they're burning clean wood.
Yeah.
That went
Yeah.
on for a long time.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Thanks
Have
for
a nice
coming.
night, everybody.
You too.
Okay, so we don't have Tricia
No,
tonight.
no Tricia, but she did send a nursing report.
So we'll just, did you all both of you got a copy of the nurse report?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll put that in our minutes. Since we're on the nursing report, when Tom and I went to the finance committee, a woman approached us and was wondering, and I have to talk to Tricia, but was wondering if we could teach some kind of sanitation or hygiene. Was that what it is, Tom? Like in the
I think
schools?
serve safe. And
Yeah, I don't think we're able to teach serve safe, but just things like, because a lot of these kids go and they work in restaurants and fast food places. Just some of the sanitary things, like you don't grab a glass of water or whatever by the top and put your hair back and hands clean and things like that. but we'd have to talk to Tricia. And then she also wanted to know if we could teach a class for CNAs.
Yeah, I thought it was great ideas, but I think it's a little beyond our practical
Yes.
scope of
Yeah.
what we can do. And
But I said I would talk to Tricia because Tricia talks to the schools.
yeah, it's a nice idea. I mean, so they have things like that at the Voc, and anyone that's in the food program would get. I think Southwick residents can go to Voc if they choose to, but ultimately it's
I'm not sure if they have a health class. at
they
the school.
they have to have.
And
I mean,
what
by
what
curriculum,
they
they have
teach
to
it.
have a health class,
and
but
what
I
they
don't know if
teach
they
it.
might not do CPR and things like what that woman was suggesting. But
Would that be very good to do
Yeah.
CPR?
yeah, that would.
Yeah, so we'll have to talk to Tricia.
Okay.
Okay, next, fees.
So fee schedule. So I'm not proposing we make any decisions today, but we did, and I guess I'll kind of jump ahead to the budget hearing along with this. So we had the budget hearing on Saturday, March 23rd, I think it was.
Yes,
And everything was level funded with the exception of the increase for getting the e-permitting software. I think whether or not we do get the e-permitting software, it is worth looking at some of our fees. I think we're a little bit on the low side for the area. But when you look at other towns, everyone's kind of all across the board. Whereas some towns their septic fees are way more than ours, but their food fees are the same. And some are kind of vice versa. So it's tough to kind of compare and see what's fair. So I did send out before the budget hearing, and I resent it yesterday. And apologies that it's a little on the small side, but the first page is just I think I did a consistent $25 increase across the board. And based on our last full permit year was 23. So based on those permit numbers, that would generate about an extra $10,000 a year. I looked at some towns so there's a FDA voluntary food standards that is voluntary, but it's something that the state is kind of pushing more and more. Nothing required at this point, and if it ever does become required, it will probably be years. But that's part of what they're doing with increasing the trainings and the food course I took last month is trying to help everyone be able to attain those voluntary standards. So one of the things in the voluntary standards is a risk-based food inspection schedule. So
is that page 2?
that's page 2. Yep. So there's four different risk levels. 4 being the highest risk. So that would be I think the only one in Southwick that would actually be a class 4 or a risk level 4 would be what is it called? Southwick Villages. Is that their current name? The American Inn. But so like nursing homes where it's a high risk population, or like if we had like a preschool that had a full kitchen, something like that would be if we had a hospital, that would be a risk level 4, and that you would inspect 3 or 4 times a year. And then a risk level 3 would be a large restaurant or a restaurant that did some of the food activities that required a HACCP plan or a variance. So if they were doing like vacuum sealing or there's plenty of other examples, but I'm drawing a blank right now. But or if they were doing oysters or things like that.
So their fee would be based on their risk.
Yeah. So their fee would be based on their risk because the higher risk, the more inspections you do. So if it was a risk level 3, you'd be aimed for 2 or 3 inspections a year. A risk level 2 would be 1 or 2 inspections a year, and that most restaurants would be a risk level 2. And then a risk level 1 would be the gas stations that pretty much only have prepackaged food and there's no food handling, no prep. And that would only be 1 a year. Based on the state, if you don't have a risk-based model, then it's everyone gets 2 inspections a year is what the law is currently. And we don't always get to 2, but I'm working on it for this year. That's my goal, is to make sure to get all the restaurants to have 2 inspections this year. So that's another model that.
Okay, you go to your first page. Your
Yeah.
first page is just an increase of $25
Yep.
for everybody. Okay.
So
The second page is the risk.
I spent too much time talking about that, but
And what's your third page?
the third page is so I looked at the food class I took was taught by the Berkshire Health Alliance, and they have a lot of job aid type documents, and one of them is the suggested fee schedule. So for all the licenses we issue, I took the fees from their suggested fee schedule and plug those in, and those ones are much higher than ours. I don't think it would be appropriate to go as high as they are on all of theirs, because that would more than double what we take in for permits every year. I think that'd be a little too much of a hit for residents and business owners, but that was kind of just to show what some other towns are. I'm sure, not every town in the Berkshires charges everything that high, but some of them might for certain categories. So, and that supposedly they calculated that based on the amount of time that it takes to do the inspection, to do the process, the permits, and everything that the work that the inspector, the office staff that goes into doing the inspections and processing the permits for each establishment. So that's supposedly what those are calculated based off of. So I think we might want to get, strive to get a little more to kind of try to cover some of the time and money that goes into doing these inspections and all of that. But I think that would be too much of a jump. But
so I think I'd like to look at what we're doing now and then look at each of them individually.
Yeah.
And then do an increase based on that.
Yeah. And I did actually one other thing I wanted to mention is, so currently we have for septic permits, we have the new perk test and a repair perk test, which are both the same fee. If it's a new perk, we have an hourly. If it goes over 3 hours, it's, I think, $25, $35 an hour. So it's not often that a perk goes longer than 3 hours. And so I think merge the 2 perks and just have it, just kind of saving some space on the page. And then we also have
merge the 2, which 2 perks?
Well, we have 2 on our schedule. We have 2 perk fees, repair and new.
Okay, so at one time we never charged for a repair.
Oh, okay. So at this point it's the same fee. So I think just make that 1 and have it be the 150 or 175 or whatever we go to, and then the hourly fee, have it be for both of those. And then for when someone installs a new septic system, for new construction, the fee is 150. And then for a repair, it's 75. And I think with the repair, there's 2 types of repair. So you have like what's called an emergency repair in the code, which is when someone just has to put in a new tank, a new D-box, or maybe they have a broken pipe and the pipe just needs to be replaced. That is easy peasy. The code doesn't even require me to go out to inspect it. The installer just has to notify me, and I usually try to go inspect, but if you know, if I'm busy, I don't want to hold them up. I can just say, hey, send me a picture and, you know, fill out the paperwork and you're good to go. So, so when someone does something as simple as putting in the tank, they're paying the same amount as someone whose leach field failed and they're putting in a whole new leach field. So there's a significant, when someone's replacing their whole leach field, there's a significant amount more work that goes in on our end. And the health department is, you know, all of the paperwork that comes in, reviewing the plan, doing the inspections. So when someone's replacing their whole septic, it's much more involved. It's more like when someone's putting it, it's basically putting in a brand new system. So I would think we should kind of rename those and have it be, you know, a septic permit, and then we could do a emergency repair, component replacement, you know, call it something like that. And so that way, if someone is putting in a new leach field, it's one fee. And then if they're just doing a minor component replacement, it would be the lesser fee. So that's where a lot of the increase, if we just did a smaller increase, that's where a lot of the increase in the fees would come from, because we do a good number of probably 15 to 20, maybe even more a year of a full repair, where, you know, they're putting in the new leach field and everything. So that would end up being more than a $25 increase, because it would be kind of getting considered to being more like a new septic permit.
See, my thought would be not to increase the emergency repair, but then to increase the other.
Just to move everyone over.
Yeah,
That's
not
yeah.
the emergency repair.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, we
and
could
maybe
do
you
that.
call them a simple and a major or something like
Right.
that. A simple repair is what you have now, and
Yeah.
then a major is much more time consuming.
Yeah,
Especially if you don't even sometimes just send me a picture.
right,
So-
right.
Yeah.
So the emergency one, I would keep the
Yeah.
same as it is now.
Yeah, so that's I would kind of want to, I guess, recategorize some of those. So, but yeah, so, I think I went on a little too long there, but I did just kind of want to
Good job.
increase where I was at, or explain where I was at. And, I think we should wait to make any formal decisions until we know whether or not we're getting the inspection software. Because as we're setting that software up, it'll be a process of at least a few months. There could be certain things based on exactly how the software operates, that if we change the fees now, maybe they categorize some things in a certain way, and it might make more sense once we know exactly what that will entail. It might make more sense to do things in a slightly different way. So I just wanted to introduce this and start the conversation. Also as kind of a show of good faith to the select board and finance committee that if we do get the funding for this, or even if not, we are serious about making some changes here to try and offset some of the costs. So,
and I think we're not going to break anybody by $25. I think that's a very low increase.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm certainly in favor of that.
Okay.
So XT, this is existing fee here?
Yep.
And then
existing fee.
And then this is your $25 fee.
Yep, with the new fee would be with the $25.
Plus $25.
Yep.
Okay, I just want to look at each one because
yeah,
a mobile food unit. If they're coming in from another town, if their base is in another town,
yep,
they don't pay any taxes or anything, right? For their mobile food unit?
I don't know how the tax, I guess they would pay excise tax.
They have to do a victualers.
Nope. they would have to do a hawker and peddler.
Isn't it? We don't get hawker and peddler.
The
Selectmen?
police department or selectman does it, and there's also a state hawker peddler
What's
license.
victular then?
Common victular is if someone is any restaurant where people are sitting. The common victular is.
And that's through the select board.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's the distinction on that one, is if there is seating, then they need the common vic.
And the vic is saying that, yes, you can have that business there. You can have, what is it for? Saying that you can have the business and people can sit there?
I think so. It's a very outdated thing. Even the regulation, if you read it, is like, I wish I could remember. It says something. It's something about weary travelers, and like I think it was written at a time where it was like the restaurant with an inn, and they had rooms, and you'd get your food and your ale, and
tie your horses up.
Yeah,
And you share a room with a stranger.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. I've never fully understood that one. I think it's kind of just a throwback to older times, and the states never got rid of it. It's required, but I think the distinction in its kind of more modern use, if I remember correctly, is if someone has seats at a restaurant, then they would technically have to get the common vic.
It sounded, going to our budget meeting that we went to, it sounded encouraging.
Yeah. It seemed like everyone was, based on the questions they asked, it felt like they thought the e-permitting was a good idea.
And coupling it with building, we get a better price.
Yep. So, and building has to upgrade theirs anyway, because they have an older version of the software that's going to get shut down in the next, I think, year or so. So they have to upgrade. So it's a good time for us to jump on board.
Okay, so talking about the fee schedule, our permits and stuff, restaurants, anybody delinquent?
No one is delinquent on fees. I think I'm down to 2 that are delinquent on certs. So providing me the copy of the ServSafe or the choke saving.
And who are they?
The Gristmill Cafe, and I just got the one today from the Southwick Inn, and I think the Patisserie, I think, is the other one. So
Patisserie pay for their fee?
they pay their fee and their late fee.
So for the ServSafe, each shift, there has to be a ServSafe certified employee on.
Yep.
So when you're getting these ServSafes, then you're getting more than one per week.
We only request that they provide one. But if I'm there for an inspection, I will make sure that they have someone who's on duty that has it. So, but yeah, so with ServSafe, there should be someone on each shift that has a certification. And it's okay if say it's the manager and they have to go to the bank or go to the store, leave temporarily. And then with the choke saving, which is required for anyone with more than 25 seats, they are required to have, and choke say it's, if you have CPR, you have choke saving, but there are some Red Cross instructors, and there's a few other certifications that just teach a sequence of obstructed airway, Heimlich, and then the fish hook, if you will. And so that way, if they have more than 25 seats, there should be someone, an employee at all times that is trained in choke saving.
It should be doesn't matter to me if you have 1 seat or 25 seats. The
Right,
person can still chill if they have one.
right.
So I don't know why they came up with 25.
Westfield has a Board of Health regulation that requires if there's any on-site seating, they require the choke saving. So that's something that we could
Look into.
look into passing. Because I think that, makes a lot of sense.
They have an at-home apparatus, don't they? For choking at home.
Yep,
You
We
ever
have
heard of
one.
that, McKinsey?
we have one.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one.
Hey, if you, when you're able to come to a meeting, can you bring it?
Sure.
So we can
Yeah.
see what,
Yeah, it's made for people who are at home by themselves. So I got it because I'm traveling.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody there to do the Heimlich. Yeah.
otherwise, what do? You throw yourself over a chair?
Throw yourself
Yeah.
over a chair if you've got a bedpost.
Yeah. Ooh,
A bedpost.
Yeah. To put it in your chest.
oh, yeah,
Break your sternum and some ribs.
yeah.
That'll be the least of your worries.
Yeah, that's true.
We got someone gave us a really cool thing when my daughter was born, and it's called I think it's like a life vac or something like that. And it honestly looks like a plunger. And it has like a mouthpiece, and it has a two-way
Yeah.
valve, so you push it down and the air goes out, and then when you pull it back, it sucks whatever
what
is.
we have.
Yeah,
Did you have?
yeah,
All right, so you do have one.
yeah. It's pretty cool.
Now-
I should watch the training video on that again, because I didn't remember you could use it on yourself.
Yeah.
But oh, cool.
Like an accordion, you push it down and put it in. Yeah.
Yep.
Jim won't remember where it is, so it won't do
Yeah.
him any good.
Yep.
Do you take it with you?
No, because I can go out in the hallway in the hotels and grab
Mhm.
help, but yeah, I worry about him.
Yeah.
Okay, so fee schedule. So the subdivision, more binding. What's,
So Mort Vining subdivision. So anytime someone files a subdivision plan,
so this is different than the one you just finished all those perks up?
no, it's the same one.
Okay.
Yep. So they are required to notify the multiple departments and boards. So they provided a copy of the plan, and they filed it in early March, and we have 40 days to comment. So I sent you guys the plan, and I have this whole one here, Sue, if you want to look at it, but basically there's 28 lots. I witnessed all the perks last summer. They're bigger lots, so they will be on wells as well. But given where the perks were and the size of the lots, I don't foresee any Board of Health issues when it comes to installing all of the septic systems and all of the wells.
So the wells will be they'll site the wells when they go to.
Yeah. So they've so far they haven't designed the individual septic systems yet, but just done all the perk tests.
So what is this as opposed to all this?
I think the Sue's referring, there's the dotted line kind of within each lot, and I think that is the marking of the setbacks of the property line setbacks. So for the house and the garage, anything they build has to be within that dotted line. I believe the septic system could be outside of that.
Okay, because there is
Yeah. I think that's just for the structure, the structure itself. Because the septic has Title V has its own setbacks, and it's only 10 feet from the property line. So,
and so you've looked at all these?
Yep. So I've reviewed it all. I looked at witnessed all the perks last year, and I don't see any issues. So I would make a favorable recommendation, or
So
have no additional comment, or
yeah, that they have the perks.
Yeah.
That they've passed, or
yep.
we have no additional. All
And
right.
could I ask a question?
Yep.
Are these houses already built?
No,
These are lots. So would we run into the problem? I saw the email about the 5-bedroom house that wasn't a 5-bedroom house. Does this, are we going to run into that same kind of thing with lots starting off as a 3-bedroom and then they decide to add 2 more?
it's possible. I mean, that's possible on any development. I think one from based on my knowledge of that previous subdivision where we had that issue, there was a lot of different builders in there. So it was a little harder to track everything down. Whereas in this case, as far as I know, at this things could change, but at this time, the developer is planning to do all the houses himself and not sell off lots. So kind of given that consistency, I think it would be a little easier to monitor. But you know, if the builder builds the house with an unfinished basement and the homeowner goes and finishes the basement, you know, that's always I don't know how easy it would be to avoid that altogether, but I think in this case, at least initially, given that it's just the one builder doing all the houses, it would be a little more consistent and easier to make sure that at the start everything is correct.
Okay.
All right, there's 28 lots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of days out there for perk tests.
So when you go up Mort Finding Road, is this toward the Connecticut line
Yeah.
on the?
It's on the left.
It's on the left.
Yep. And there was a few pre-existing houses there, and then I think after that it's just some farmland and then the Connecticut line. It's pretty much the last thing on that side of the road.
28. Okay, so you're gonna write something up and.
Yep.
Any comments, Terry or McKinsey?
Nope, just what I just said.
Questions to ask Tom?
No,
Okay.
thanks.
Okay.
All right. And then
So you need this. This is Oakwood.
Yeah.
This is Oakwood.
yeah, that all goes together.
Okay. No,
So
fog regulations.
fog regulation, I've got nothing new on that. And then we just kind of talked about the renewals update with the
So we just need
straggler certification.
Patisserie and Gristmill.
Yep. So I emailed them. It feels like it was last week, but it was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I'll go out probably next week and give them a visit and maybe do an inspection.
So this is what we have to do. That regulation we have
Yep.
about them not paying and getting their permit.
Yep.
We need to include certificates.
Right. And I do think if we get the e-permitting, that will really help with tracking these and people uploading them and all that. So, but yeah, that would, I mean, and I don't know, it's always a tough thing with the restaurants. You don't want to hurt businesses and, but when they don't provide it, we haven't issued their permits yet for 2024 because we're awaiting this. So,
Okay,
you know,
so
I wouldn't really recommend it, but if we really wanted to, we could do a cease and desist and you're operating without a permit until you provide this certification because that's what we asked for on our application. I don't know if I don't think that's the best way to handle it, but maybe.
how long do you wait?
Right. So we're in April.
So that's why I think we have
Yeah.
to put it in the regs and we have to have.
Have it be a little more defined. Yeah. Okay.
All right, that's
So-
something to work on.
Yeah, we can look at that for for next year, and
For October,
yeah,
along with the fees.
yep. For septic, perks have started to pick up. Had a handful in the past week, and I've got a bunch scheduled this month. So 2 repair perks on Foster Road, 16 and 21. 19 Foster Road, that is the one where we had an issue with the homeowner who started putting in the system himself last year, and or just started excavating where the system was going to be. So he finally got a licensed installer. I did the final inspection, and the plumbing on the house was too low. So they have to raise the plumbing in the house to connect, but the system is in. They just have to connect the tank to the house and get a plumbing permit and raise the plumbing. So won't issue any
It was too low to hook to the tank.
Yeah. It was uphill from the house to the tank. And they
Oh,
couldn't move because there's high groundwater. They couldn't move the tank or the leach field any lower. So they have to raise the plumbing.
that was a repair?
No, that's new construction. So that one I won't issue the COC until I've confirmed that they have actually hooked up the system and raised the plumbing and done everything they need to do there. 12 Meadow Lane, 75 Hillside, those were both repair perks. 234 Sheep Pasture, that was a repair. I did the final inspection. That was just a tank. And they actually didn't even replace the tank. It was leaking at the seam, so they
Repaired it.
just did hydraulic cement all around the seam and to reseal it. 9 Overlook Lane. So that's the one, Terry, that you just mentioned that had the extra bedrooms. So I sent the letter. I sent it both certified and regular. And I actually just got the certified letter unsigned for back today, but we didn't get the regular one back. So they did receive it, and I reached out to the engineer who designed the initial system, because when I was kind of figuring out everything that was going on there, I had reached out to them. So I emailed him on Tuesday and said, "Have you heard anything about this yet?" And he called me. So the property owner did receive the letter because he did contact the Philippe from Levesque's office to kind of figure out what they need to do to fix it.
Who's the engineer?
Philippe Cravo from Arlevec.
Sounds a little bit.
Yeah. So Philippe requested to use the old perks. So the perks for that lot were done in 2011, and that was built in 2017. So I think when the plan was approved, we have a 5-year that the perks expire. However, the board can decide to allow the use of an older perk.
But so what are they gonna do? They're gonna add to the system?
Yep. So
They're gonna add to the system.
that's their plan. So they have the reserve. I think they'll have to move the location of it, or kind of pivot the location of where they have the reserve area, and they will be able to add on. I think he said 20 feet to the existing system. So it will just extend it.
So the reserve area, are they gonna need another perk?
They have the existing perks from the reserve from 2011, and then the perk from the current leach field, which they're just going to extend. So,
Okay.
in my professional opinion, I don't think doing new perks is necessary. The soil hasn't changed, and in Philippe's email, he did brought it, and when we talked on the phone, he brought up the point that the elevation dropped off in the direction that they're extending it. So if anything, there's only going to be more groundwater separation. because they're gonna have to bring in more Title V sand, and um, so I don't,
What's the original perk? Do you know?
I don't remember the rate off the top of my head. I have the plan in my office, but, um, I think that it makes sense to use the existing perks, and then the Vex office will prepare a plan with the expansion, and they would use the data from the older perks, but it would be permitted, other than not doing new perks, it would be permitted as if it was a new construction.
I don't have a problem using that perk, because if they made the system what it was supposed to be in the
Right, in the first
in the
place.
first place, it would
Yep.
have been using that perk.
Yep. So I think they're gonna do make the system be big enough for 5 bedrooms, and then this was DEP's suggestion. The house is so big, and there's a lot of open space. So DEP suggested requiring a deed restriction for the number of bedrooms. So normally the deed restriction is just used for if someone's doing a 2 bedroom, which is less than the minimum. But in this case, that would prevent, a future owner from, putting up a couple extra walls. And I looked at on the real estate listing for the address, it was they had the floor plan, and could pretty easily turn that into like someone really wanted to. I don't know why they would, but turn it into like an 8 bedroom. So DEP suggested doing the deed restriction
For 5 bedrooms?
for 5 bedrooms. So that's where that's at. At this point, we're just looking at using the old perk test. So
Terry or McKinsey, do you have any comment about using the 2011 perk?
No, I don't have any objection with that.
No,
So
neither do I.
Do you want to make a motion? Then it's probably something we should vote on.
I move that we accept the 2000 whatever perk, the old
Yeah.
perk.
2011.
Okay.
I will second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Terry Putnam, yes.
Mackenzie Kane, yes.
Sue Braska, yes.
all right,
Okay.
great. 272 Granville Road. That's the one. I think was it last month that I told you guys about that? But that's the one where it was breaking out from the D box and kind of draining down along there was a raised system.
And they're
So
pumping it, right?
they're pumping it. They did the perk test. I haven't received the plan. The perk test was a couple weeks ago. I haven't received the plan yet, but if I don't get it today, or well, if I don't get it tomorrow, I will follow up with the
You need
engineer.
the plan? You don't get
I haven't got the plan yet. Yeah. But I do know that they have been pumping it, so should be minimal the amount of runoff to the neighbor's property, hopefully not at all. 72 Granville Road, that was a repair, and got all the paperwork for that, so I issued the COC. And 3 South Loomis is a repair, and I approved the plan. That was a tough one. I might have talked about that when we did the perk, but the current system is in the backyard, and they dug there, and water was at like 6 inches.
Is it down from the road?
A little bit, yeah. I think it's the last, and there might be one house after it, but it's like a brown ranch
On the right?
on the right, yeah. And so we knew we weren't going to put the system in the back. So they did the perks in the front, and
Where's the well?
the well was unknown, but it was believed to be somewhere in the front, but they couldn't find it. So they then had to move the well to the back, and it was wet at like 6 inches. So it's all wetlands back there. So they had to get the wetlands delineated and had to go before conservation. And so that was a whole thing. So finally got all the approval they needed from conservation. So they're going to be putting in a new well in the back, and the septic will be in the front yard. So yeah, yeah. So that's been in the works for quite, I think the perk was like in October. But that's finally approved and they can start the work there. Housing, Aaron Circle, the laundry situation, there was a resident there who thought that the water in the washing machine was not hot enough. I honestly wasn't sure that the washing machine water was required to be hot, but I did check with the state DPH, and they said it should meet the same requirements as any other hot water. So I went out and met the resident it's a shared laundry facility for Aaron Circle. And I have a thermometer that I use for dishwashers in restaurants, and it registers the highest temperature and it's waterproof. So I threw that in the washer, and the highest temperature it got was 111 degrees. So it met the requirements. So there was no violation there. And I let the property manager know, and the resident was there with me. So
What's the lower limit?
110.
110 is the lower limit?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what it was?
Yep. So it's like 110 to 120, I think, is the range. So and then 80 Bungalow Street, that one I've been back and forth to schedule a follow-up inspection. I want to be able to be there. That's the woman that was working with Highland Valley Elder Services. So I'd like to be there with her representative from Highland Valley, because they've been helping her take care of some of the violations. So that's been tough to schedule. But I haven't done it yet because I just want to have them there, so that way we can make sure we're all on the same page and see what they can help her with, what they can't, and all of that. So, and then there was I just sent this one like an hour ago, or maybe like half hour before the meeting. I think it initially went to building, but I don't think it was as much of a building issue. But we received a complaint about an RV over on North Long Yard Road at 19 and 21. So I drove by, and it's kind of set up in the backyard a little bit. It looks like there's a hose or some sort of wire running out to the RV. There's some water tanks there, and it's you can tell the RV's set up, the bump outs are out, and the jack stands are down.
Concern that somebody's living there?
There's a concern that someone's living there. So I went today and knocked on the door of the house at the connected property there, and no one answered. So I wrote up a letter just to mail it. The owner of the property is out of Chelmsford. This kind of surprised me. I thought there was more of an exemption, but in the new housing code, which was updated last year, if someone for temporary housing, so if someone's living in a RV or tent or whatever, if it's temporary housing, if they can't use temporary housing even for one day without written permission of the Board of Health. So I just kind of sent a letter that said, this could be a violation. Give me a call. Let me know the nature of use of the RV. There's honestly a lot of, maybe they had it set up and they're, taking their time to do spring cleaning, or maybe they like to hang out in there. And if no one sleeps in it, then it's not temporary housing. So there's plenty of reasons why it wouldn't be a violation. So that's why I was kind of just sending a letter. But I did want to bring it up to you today, just on the chance that, say it is temporary housing and you know, we're allowed to grant permission for 1 to 30 days. If it's beyond 30 days, then it might go to building department or it might just not be allowed. I'm not sure. But on the off chance I hear from them and they say, oh yeah, we have someone staying there, they're only going to be there for another week or 2 weeks. Is that something that you would want to have bring before the board at the next board meeting, or possibly even have to schedule an extra board meeting? Or is that something that you would want me as your agent to just kind of determine that there's no nuisance, it's safe, and to grant them permission on your behalf, if I felt that there wasn't any issues.
I have no problem letting you make a decision. How about Terry or Mackenzie?
No, I think it's within your scope to
right.
absolutely make the decision. Yeah.
Okay.
Terry?
Yeah, I think so too. Maybe just report back to us when you hear from it, or if you hear. I think if you don't
Okay.
hear back from them, then that makes it a little more. We need to hear about it if they don't
Yeah.
respond to you.
Okay. Okay. And that will be, I'll follow that if, even if it's not this specific one, if another one comes up. And I mean, there's a lot of reasons someone might want to have, I think in a lot of cases, someone might have someone, if they have family staying over and they have an RV. I think in most cases, we would probably never find out about it. But if it does come up, if anyone asks, then I think I would follow that, and I would grant the permission and then notify you guys, and or if there was, if I didn't think it was a good situation.
There's something in the town bylaws would be considered a trailer, right?
Yeah, there is. I don't know if this meets that, because
And I know things are up with fires and stuff
Right.
like that. Yes, you can live in a trailer and
right. Yeah, I don't know if that applies to permanent or versus temporary situations. I'm not sure, but I'll this draft letter I sent to you guys, I didn't write it on there yet, but I will. And I've talked to Kyle about it already, but I will formally send him a copy of it as well, just so he's fully aware. So okay.
Hopefully, it's just somebody's she shack.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, maybe they're renovating the house and they're sleeping
Right.
there.
Right.
Or
So, was that a complaint from a neighbor or something? Somebody just bring it to your attention that way?
Yeah, I think it must have been from a neighbor. I think it initially, I can't remember if it was a phone call or an email, but I think it initially went to Karen.
Okay.
But the only thing that really concerned me was it's kind of on the back side of the RV. There's like two, it looks like two, it's hard to tell because you can only see through underneath the RV. But two big of those like plastic water containers. Those ones that are like cubes that have the metal kind of frame around it. So that kind of had like, is that your water supply for the trailer, or is that where all the wastewater from the trailer is going? And then what
Yeah.
are you doing with it? So that was kind of the only thing that seemed like a little bit of a red flag to me, but the regulation was different when I was in Westfield, but I had a few of these sort of complaints over the years, and it's usually pretty obvious when someone's living there. Like there's a car parked next to it, and they have, uh, chairs set up outside of it, and there wasn't any of that here.
planted a
So
garden and
yeah, so I don't think it's I don't think it's anything bad or anything like that,
okay.
but just want to make sure there's nothing wrong going on, and figure that out. So food service, there was a new application for a residential kitchen called Sweet Treats by Bella.
What was the one last week? Or last month?
Oh, I don't remember. Oh, that one was, Lovey's Baked Goods.
Lovey's Baked
Yeah,
Goods.
and
She's gonna be out of Dell.
Lovey's is operating out of Delaterra, and
Tweet.
this one, I think she was on, I think Klaus Anderson. So it's someone doing it out of their home, which is allowed by the food code. It's called cottage food. It used to be called residential kitchen, but they changed it.
Wonder why. Residential kitchen sounds more
Yeah,
than cottage food.
yeah. I think cottage food is more consistent with the FDA, with what they have in the FDA regs, whereas the residential kitchen was a mass thing.
Right, so she's
But-
going to do this from her home
Yep,
and like online type of thing?
I think so. Online or just, delivery.
So
When
they have a residential kitchen
Yep.
or cottage kitchen, do you go and inspect it?
Yep, I go and inspect it.
What do they have to have?
They have to have wherever they keep their ingredients for their business, have to be stored separately from
So,
their household food. So it doesn't necessarily mean a separate fridge. Some places have that if they have kind of a bigger operation, but it could just be, one shelf or drawer or one side of the shelf that is dedicated to, so anyone else in the household knows, don't touch those eggs, don't touch that milk. And then the kitchen has to be able, you have to be able to exclude any children or pets from the kitchen. So just when you're doing your food prep for the business, it's a baby gate or whatever, but doesn't mean they have to keep their family out of the kitchen at all times, but just when they're, cooking for the business, that they have to be able to do that. And
do they need to have a hand sink?
nope, they just have to have the hand washing supplies, and a regular dishwasher is fine for them. And the other limitation is, because obviously they don't have everything a commercial kitchen would have, but they're very limited in what they can produce. So pretty much it's baked goods, and nothing that has to be refrigerated, the final product. So no cheesecakes, nothing like that. But they can bake cookies, breads, cakes, and then they can also do jams and jellies. And they can't can anything else. It's just jams and jelly based on I think the sugar content. There's much lower risk for botulism. But they can, even restaurants can't, without a HACCP plan, they can't can anything else. So like they can't do pickles, and that's a whole separate thing.
What permit do we give her?
I did a food establishment, but that was something, I think I forgot to mention it, but
25
I
seats.
I did add
We should have a residential
yeah,
kitchen.
I on the bottom of my list here, I put cottage food. So, as we talk more about redoing our permits, that's definitely one I would want to add.
We have another situation similar to this
That's the only one I'm aware of
right now.
right now, I think. And a lot of times in Westfield, we would permit these, and it's someone's house, so it's harder to, in a regular restaurant, you just show up and do the inspection whenever. But in these ones, you're not just going to show up at someone's house, and there's probably a 95% chance they're not even cooking when you do show up. So that you kind of schedule the inspections, and I wish the best to Bella, but a lot of times in Westfield, I would see that people would get their initial permit, and then they wouldn't renew. So and sometimes they just realized it was more work, or sometimes they would kind of grow their business and move into another sort of establishment. But So I don't see a ton of those, but there's enough that it's worth it to have the separate permit. And then Cousins Maine Lobster, they did another event at
So they're a
the
mobile unit?
they're a full mobile food truck, although they applied for a temporary. They did an event at the bar shop in January, and I said, I'll give you a temporary this time, but you know, if you're gonna be doing more events, you should just get the mobile permit, and then you don't need to notify me every time you're here. And but I don't know if they don't have their hawker peddler license, which is very easy to get. So, but I told them again, you know, if you want to keep paying $25 every time you're going to come to town, that's fine, but you should just get the mobile license. It's kind of, it's a little bit of a nuisance to every time they have to process the permit and do all that, but
They're at the bar shop?
that's where they've been. I think last year they did in a couple events at the Westfield River Brewery too. So so they're on here again because they did a second event, and until hopefully they'll get their mobile food license. But and then I also, it's not on here, but I did an inspection yesterday at Kettlebread, and I used the new inspection software, and it was pretty good. It took me a little longer because I had to figure out where everything was as I was going, but it was good, and it was nice to. I got back to the office and emailed everything right over to the owner, and it was good. So no major issues there. What Tom always say? Business as usual.
You can say uneventful.
Uneventful. Yeah, it was on a couple little things, but nothing crazy. So
there hasn't been official training on that yet, is there?
no, not yet. Yeah, one or two of the other towns still have to get, but I was just working with them today, so hopefully in the next week or so we'll finally get the training, or at least get the training scheduled. I don't know what their availability is like. The shared service coordinator we had 3 applicants. I don't.
Well, 3 that you chose.
Yeah, we had even more applicants. We narrowed it down to 4. And then I contacted the 4 of them to schedule interviews, and one never got back to me. So they must have got another job or just not be interested. So
we're gonna do the 3.
Yep. So those interviews are next week. So hopefully, and the regional board for the grant had upped the salary and made the position full time. And I think that really did the trick, because this time we got qualified applicants. You know, I think all of them had either a bachelor's or a master's in public health, had relevant experience, and you know, there was a few qualified applicants that, you know, we didn't give interviews to just because we felt we picked the best of the bunch, but we had more options this time. And one of the applicants that is doing an interview had applied. We had offered her the position in the first round, but then it turned out to not be enough hours and salary and everything. So once we increased it, she was still interested and reapplied. So I think we've got a few good options there, and we'll be doing the interview, I think Tuesday and Thursday of next week.
The 9th at 1 o'clock and the 11th at 3:30 and 2:45.
Yep.
That give you enough time.
Yeah.
Colleen, we've already met.
Yeah. So,
and you're going to try to get them in person.
Yes, I think 2 are coming in person, and one. Yeah, I talked to her, and she would be moving. She knows people around here. So she's gonna Zoom for the interview, but she would be moving out here if she got the job. Um, so that is promising, and hopefully that will, by sometime in May, we'll have that position filled.
Nice.
Um,
And did either of them say whether they wanted the 4 days
no, we hadn't got there yet. So we'll see, we'll ask them at the interview.
the part-time or the full-time?
Yeah. We had, I left PhD grant meeting, but we actually, we canceled the March meeting.
Gonna have it after the
But
interviews?
yeah, so I'm trying to that would be next Tuesday.
No, after the interviews.
Yeah, so yeah, so we pushed it back. So I emailed everyone. I think it looks like we're gonna be doing it on the 18th or the 23rd.
Either one's good for me.
Yeah, okay. And then Hampden County Health Coalition, actually missed the meeting this week, but I've been helping out where they're doing a tabletop public health emergency preparedness exercise in the end of May. I should remember the date. I'm on the planning committee. But so there's been a few meetings for that. And then the budget hearing we already talked about, and that is
Question, old business, how did it go with the tobacco?
tobacco was good. I went out on the first day, and both places had everything removed, and they were good to go. And I actually didn't make it back during the 3 days, but I heavily implied that I would be, so I'm not worried that they were going to try to pull anything. So that went well.
Okay, and they both paid the fine?
They both paid the fine. They both served the time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you have anything, Terry or Mackenzie?
No.
No, no thanks.
Terry, can I ask where you're located right now?
I am in West Virginia. Woohoo!
Mm.
In the Appalachian Mountains. And it's snowing.
Yeah, well, it snowed here too, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything more, Tom?
No, I think that's everything.
Wow, long meeting. Is that the clock,
Yeah.
right? Do you want to make
Yeah.
a motion to end the meeting, adjourn the meeting at 7:25 PM?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting now.
I will second that.
Okay, all in favor? Oh, wait a minute. Next meeting, May 2nd. Okay. All in favor?
Terry
Kevin
Putnam.
McCain, yes.
Okay, I heard both of you.